Morning, everybody. I'm Vandertie. I farm in Thorp County, Wisconsin. So, Wisconsin, the peninsula, that's me. So, on either side of us, we got the Bay, Green Bay, Lake Michigan, and contrary to popular belief, yes, we do have soil. It's not just rock. So, I farm there. Actually, I just bought the farm first of the year here from my folks. I've been managing everything pretty much for the last 4 years since I graduated from Madison. Go to the next slide. So, as I said before, we're milking 40 cows. We're 100% homebred. You can see some of the stuff up there. Our Lloyd herd average, 36,000 pounds. Getting a lot of fat, a lot of protein out of the ladies. We kind of put an emphasis on production out there with tight. The classification fairly seriously. As you can see, we got an EAA of 113.2, so that comes out to our average score of 90 in the herd. And of those 40 cows, 20 of them are excellent. That includes 5 94-point cows. And then, I guess one of our more favorite things is we've got the PBR award for 51 years straight, and that's a testament to what my grandfather and my father did.
Can you explain what that PBR award is?
Yeah, so Progressive Breeders Registry Award, it takes into consideration, if I remember right, it's production, I think some of the type stuff too. I don't remember all this really.
They look at a bunch of different metrics.
Yeah. In addition to that, we're a 7-time honoree of the Herd of Excellence Award, and we actually just got the phone call last week. We're now 8-time. So currently we milk in a tie stall barn. You can see on the right there, it's really not a great picture.
Sorry about the quality of the picture.
The drone isn't a great picture either, but that's the tie stall barn there. It has 32 stalls with pipeline over it, 2 box stalls, and just 5 extra stalls for like spring heifers, dry cows, and whatnot. And recently, we just put a brand new heifer barn up, thanks to the County Soil and Water Department. So that's on the left there. We've housed all of our younger heifers in there, and we actually started putting some of our dry cows in there. They all have access to pasture. And it's, we've been in it for just about a year now, and it's been absolutely fantastic. In the tie stall, we really use it to our benefit. And being able to see each cow individually, watch her every day, and you guys know, you see the mannerisms, you see how your cows, how they're eating, how they're milking, all that stuff. I don't have to tell you that, but it's one of the pros to being in a tie stall for herd. We have the ability to do that. In the summertime, our cows get out on pasture. They still get a TMR, but they have access to exercise and whatnot as well. We feel that's pretty important, especially for like feet, leg, and mobility. And then in the wintertime, they're stuck inside a little bit more, but get a nice day to try to get them out. So a little bit of history on the farm. My family's been there for 6 generations. Really, my grandpa is the one that started the registered bit. And as the story goes, when he started milking, his first milk check was about $9, and his feed cost was $11. And he said, "Well, something's got to change here." So somehow he got hooked up with a fellow with the last name of Junkum, who was south of us. And the day he went to go pick up a couple heifers from him that he had agreed to, Mr. Junkum ended up in the hospital, and he told his wife, when Wilford, my grandpa gets here, you tell him, take whatever 2 heifers he wants. So the bottom, or the middle picture there, that's the 2 heifers he came home with. And every single cow in the herd goes back to those 2 registered heifers. From there, he built everything up with the genetics, production, and whatnot. On the right picture, any of you know my old man? That's back when he still had hair. My old man took over in 1987.
You know what the 2 middle animals are?
I do not. I've been slowly trying to go back, through all all the paper records and files, and eventually I'll get there. So far I'm back to 1965, so I got a few more years to go. So in the early 80s, that's when the picture on the right was taken. That's on one of the Wisconsin Agricultural magazines. They were the first herd in Wisconsin, maybe United States, I don't know, to average over 900 pounds of butter fat for the year. And then slightly more recent, on the left there, I believe that's early 2000s. My old man had a couple cows that we'll talk about later. One of them was this Reuben's cow that he put, between her and two of her sisters, he put quite a few bulls in the stud. And unfortunately, right after that, genomics came out, and that's why you don't see him anymore. So, some of our breeding goals, it hasn't really changed. From my dad, from my grandpa to my dad to myself. We whatever every dairyman wants. You want long-lasting cows. To my grandpa, that was 15 years old. To my dad, that was 10 years old. To me, I don't know. I'd love to have a 10-year-old cow. I got a couple, but the day and age we live in, it seems like a long-lasting cow is 5. Everyone wants trouble-free cows, and we really focus on the production and the classifying, like I mentioned before. The gal there, that was on the cover page of Holsteins International, and you guys read that magazine. Excuse me. Go to the next slide, please.
That was a Jedi, wasn't it?
Yep. So how do we get to our goals? And we talked about this morning over breakfast and balance and what does it mean. And I kind of took a different approach to it here. Obviously you want balance in the cow and what that means to you. But when I'm looking at sires, I'm looking at a balance between your linears, a balance between the pedigrees on the maternal and paternal side, and I'm looking at the production records. So if I take all those things and try to balance them together, and try to get the type of cow that we're trying to get on our farm. And then, tell me, Bruce, if this is right. 2008 was the last paper I could find from AAA. Does that sound right?
If you'd asked me how many years and put me on the spot, I would have said maybe 20, and I'm glad you looked it up. That's about right.
So
I started working with Dan, and here comes along this young guy that's pretty sharp, and it's been an enjoyable transition.
So we've been doing AAA for 18 years. Obviously, my old man can attest to the changes we've seen from before to after. 18 years, that's almost older than me. When I asked him, what AAA has done for the herd, and the first thing he'll say is, when he was breeding, he was 234, 234, 234, before we did AAA, and now we're getting, a lot more, there's that balance word again, throughout the cows. But we also see, our cows that, work towards the bottom of the herd for production and for tight classification, they've really closed the gap. Our herd is a lot more uniform, I'd say, and we've improved in a lot of things, I think specifically feet and legs, since we started using AAA. And even without talking to my old man, you can look at some of the results, you can look at the production, you can look at our classification scores and see that AAA has done fantastic things for us. So a few of the cow families that I want to recognize that really made the herd what it is today. Obviously, like I said, every cow goes back to one of those two registered heifers. But really more recent is the Duster cow on top. And she had 3 daughters, 2 of them that I have listed there, the Reubens and the Dante. And from them, my folks, they flushed the heck out of them and created a lot of different families. So the cow that was on the cover, Holsteins International, is on the top there. That's the Jedi. She's excellent, 94. I got 3 daughters from her, 187, a 2-year-old that's 86 points, and I got another heifer on the ground. And so you can see she's a milk wagon. 40,000 pounds, 305-day record, pretty easy. I think her last one was 47. And she goes back to the Dante. The next cow, the Halogen, that's 94. She goes back to the Rubens, and she's still running around the herd today. I believe she's 11 years old. She's got 6 daughters, 5 of them that have been scored, and right now the average score is 89. Her last lactation, she ended up over 300,000 pounds lifetime milk. And then the bottom cow there, the DoorCo Mitch Frolic, she's also 94. She's in the picture there, the bottom picture. So the 5 generations behind her, 4 of them are excellent, 4 of them are gold medal, and 2 of them are gold medal dad. Really working on those families that transmit. That's the family right there. And then of her 5 daughters, 2 of them are just heifers yet, but you can see that one that's 93, 91, and then another one that's 87 points. So, all those cows there, the bottom 3 that are 94, those are all still running around the herd today and doing well. So that's just a quick overview on our farm. If you guys have any questions now, later, whatever, please feel free to ask. My phone number's up there. We also do, we sell a bunch of replacements and we sell breeder bulls. So if you guys are in the market, don't be afraid to give me a jingle. And for those of you that do Facebook or TikTok, which I'm going to guess is not a whole lot yet, feel free to look me up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Austin. Very good. Let's see. You can just hang on with that. You can turn it off for now. Let's see who I have next here. I've got Hansen's dairy next. So Blake Hansen, here on your left. He comes to us from Iowa. We first heard about him, I think. What was the publication that did an article on you?
Is this on?
Is his microphone on?
Hello? Oh,
There.
got it. Good morning. I think it was Holstein International did a story.
Holstein International. That was my guess. There was this very interesting article about this young farmer in Iowa that was using some very strange bulls in their program. And it sounded like something that we would do sometimes. So, long story short, he was going back and using some old bloodlines. So we'll let him talk about that, but he has quite an interesting operation. So, Blake, tell us what you got going on.
Why don't you go ahead and show the video first,
Okay.
and then I'll discuss something
Very
after
good.
that.
So we have a video here we're going to play that talks about their operational role.
The Hansen family has farmed the same land in Hudson, Iowa for 150 years. The land was first purchased 7 generations ago in 1864. Holstein cows have been milked here since the 1950s. During that time, the milk was picked up and delivered to a co-op to be processed for consumption. But in 2002, the J&G Hansen family decided to add value to their milk and process dairy products right on the farm. The increased profit from selling milk directly to consumers would allow J&G's 4 sons and their families to return to their home farm. The first gallon of milk was packaged on the farm in February 2004. We now produce whole, 1%, skim, and chocolate milk, butter, cheese curds, heavy cream, ice cream, and eggnog. We deliver our dairy products to several grocery stores, restaurants, retirement communities, and daycares within 100 miles of our farm. We also own 3 of our own retail stores. Our first Hansen's Dairy store opened in Waterloo in 2006, and the second store was opened in Cedar Falls in 2007. The Hansen retail business, the farm opens its doors to thousands of tourists each year. Visitors can ride the trolley, milk a cow, bottle feed a calf, pet kangaroos, make butter, and enjoy Hansen's ice cream while learning how milk gets from the cow to their table. To make each facet of the business operate smoothly, the farm employs 40 people, including several Hansen family members. Brent, the oldest son, handles milk sales and delivery. Brad processes all the products in the on-farm creamery. Blair manages the livestock nutrition and crops. Blake takes care of breeding, calving, and milking. And Jordan, Blake's wife, handles tourism, marketing, and bookkeeping. Jake and Jean are semi-retired and are now enjoying watching the seventh generation grow up on the successful family farm.
Well, that's taken a lot of talking for me, so I'm glad I brought that up. So that gives us the history of the farm and what we do today. But going to the genetic side of the things, my genetic philosophy has changed over the 25 years since I came back to the farm. So in 2008, 2009, genomics came into the picture. And I waited as long as I could before I actually dove into the genomics. And I waited 6 years, I believe, maybe even 7. And I used some young genomic bulls. And I had 35 daughters going back, to genomic calves, or as calves or genomic bulls. And only one of those genomic daughters lived to be past 5 years old. And I pretty much lost a lot of longevity in my herd when I used those genomic bulls back in the day. I know maybe they've gotten better, I'm not sure, but today I no longer use genomic bulls. It's mostly bulls from Triple-Hil and or proven bulls, So I lost a lot of strength and longevity in the course of those, 6 years in my herd. So then I started reversing my psychology and going back to old genetics, bulls from the 60s, 70s, and 80s to help breed back some strength and longevity. And so I've been doing that for 12 years now, and the age has increased in my herd, almost 3 lactations longer in my herd of 150 cows. So we're now, our average age is, close to, 6 to 7 years old. So it's quite an amazing accomplishment. So that, a good foundation that myself and my kids can breed from now that we've got some more longevity bred back in the herd, and it does not happen overnight for sure. A few good cow families that I've purchased over the course of the years. I purchased a golden daughter out of Apple herself back in the, must have been 2010, 2012, I believe. But this is a family of 5 generations on the farm going back to Apple. So the cow on the far left is Apple granddaughter. She was 90 points, and then the other 4 are generations there. And none of this was done with any embryo technology or sex semen. So they all had natural calves, and they all had heifers, and they were all milking on the farm all at once. So that was one of my ultimate goals when I was in college, is to have 5 generations all milking at once. And you don't hear about that story happen every day anymore because the longevity in cows just isn't there. So the Apple family has been really good to us. We have well over half of the herd probably has stemmed from the apple cow. And apples themselves have proven themselves to live a long time. And sometimes they're not very nice to work with. Their dispositions are pretty tough, but that's why they live to be old cows. And you can go to the next slide, please. This is one of our favorite my favorite homebred cow. She's a 93-point Stormatic. She produced over 300,000 pounds of milk in her lifetime. So one of 2 cows that has produced over 300,000 pounds on our farm. So that's kind of a rare accomplishment for anybody to have cows produce that much these days. Next slide. Here's another cow that produced 300. She lived to be 12 years old, and she was our one of our favorite Rudolph daughters that surpassed the 300,000 pound mark, and she gave us 10 heifers, all natural, and no embryo work on her either. So a lot of the herd also goes after that cow. Next slide, please. Now, as far as the old genetics, like I was saying, we have the cow on the far right goes back to the Black Star cow family. We purchased some embryos back in '97, I believe, when Indian had their dispersal. And then that cow goes back to her. She was 93. The middle cow is an old bootmaker that just passed away here this past winter. She produced over 200, I'm sorry, not bootmaker. She's an astronaut daughter that produced over 200,000 pounds of milk and lived to be 10 years old.
So she almost lived up to her name? She almost lived up to her name?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So she was one of my first astronaut daughters that was born, and so I was like, well, let's kind of give her an old school name, you know. And then one of my favorite bulls today that I like to use is sired by the cow on the far left, and she's a Black Star daughter. And all those cows up there are older genetics, and they just stand the test of time. They've got the strength and longevity, and we don't push our cows very hard on milk production. We want them to live for 10 plus years to be more profitable, so, and we get good offspring out of them. That should be it. So that kind of gives us, it gives you an idea of what we are doing today. Another issue is I'm having a hard time finding bulls that are 100% registered. I want to keep 100% going in my herd as long as I could, or as long as I can. So that's becoming harder and harder every day to find bulls that are proven 100% registered. And also with our marketing aspect of our dairy products, I am going searching for bulls and trying to get a herd of all A2 genetics so we can start adding another product line in our products. So that's my next goal, is to get an A2 herd to help market our dairy products. Thank you.
Do you want to talk about the kangaroos a little bit?
Oh yeah, I suppose. Yeah, we can show a video of the kangaroos here real quick, and I can talk a little bit about the kangaroos. So we do have kangaroos on the farm, and they help promote our dairy products. So back in 2001, I visited Australia for about 2 weeks and really enjoyed hanging out with the kangaroos. So that was about the time we were thinking about processing our own dairy products on the farm. And on the flight home, I was thinking, man, if we would have those kangaroos on our logo and help promote our products, then we need to have kangaroos on the farm. So a year later, I managed to get some kangaroos on the farm. So now we have 5 kangaroos on the farm, and then we also breed them as well. So they are bottle fed and raised in the house, so they're all friendly. And so when the tourists come to the farm in the summertime, they can feed and pet the kangaroos. That's something that attracts the tourists that come to the farm, and then that's our bait to get these customers or tourists to come in and learn how milk gets from the cow to the table. So we kind of bait them into kangaroos, and it seems to help pretty well. But I got hooked up with a kangaroo breeder in Houston, Texas. That got me started, and he's been a great guy to work with. So, and that's the story of the kangaroos.
Thank you for that. All right, let's skip here to Welsh-Edge. So we have Ralph Petersheim here with us. He's a next year. I think he shows up to this meeting we have in the audience. I think some of you may have been to his farm because a number of years ago we actually did a tour. We loaded a bunch of you on a bus and went down to Ralph's and also found Kern's herd. So some of you may have been to his herd. We've been going there for quite a few years now, and we've always really appreciated the hospitality and the cows there. So, Ralph, tell us about what you've got going on there.
Okay. Well, good morning. I'm at the age where I need to, these young bucks didn't have any notes, but I have a few notes, so I'll get too confused. I'll just start out with some, we milk 70 cows, 86 cows on test. Herd average is 24,381. For BAA is 110, 20 excellent, 45 very good, and 9 good plus. It's been a long time since we had a 2-year-old score good, but this last time we had one score good. But that's the only good that we had. This winter they're averaging 80 pounds, 4.2 and 3.2 protein. Some fell around 130. As I'll mention later, we changed directions a few years ago. We don't push for, quite a few years ago, we don't push for production. Our purchase feed cost per 100 is $1.66. So Sheila and I got married in 1985, and we started farming on our own in 1987. Had a few cows. My parents gave us each calf when we turned 12, and I feel that was a really good thing. We did the same for each of our children. So we bought my parents' cows and ran their farm until 1995. In that time, we were able to get our cows paid for and also some equipment. When we started, we really pushed for milk, and we got it. It was 1987, 88, we were getting 90-pound cow. But as time went on, I realized that our milk check was going to the feed mill and the vet clinic. We decided to change the way we did things and went the route of low input milk production. Now I do want you to know that my hat is off to these guys to get 30,000+ per herd average. That's incredible. But for me, I realized that the highest milk production, just like the highest bushel of corn, didn't necessarily mean the most profit. I have a friend in Pennsylvania whose cows have been between 100 and 110 pound milk for over 4 years, and that's amazing. Last year we were together and we compared our inputs. He has a list of about 12 things that he's purchasing, and I'm still buying 3 pounds of soy meal and my mineral. So we both focus on high quality forage. His way works for him and my way works for me. So choose your path and follow what I say. In 1995, the Lord led us to Wisconsin, and we bought 200 acres south of Liberty Pool. The farmer that we bought from wanted his cows to stay with the farm, so it was really hard to do, but we sold our herd of registered Holsteins that we had worked with. Well, I had since I was a boy. It was a ball from my dad. But we sold them and bought his herd of grade cows. We did bring a pot load, I think it was 37 calves and heifers along. And when we moved here, we had 4 children. I let them all pick a pet to bring, and I picked one as well. Thankfully, I picked Welsh-Edge Lehman Ginger, and about 70% of our current herd traces back to her now. In 1998, we started using sand bedding, and since that time, according to DHIA, 70% of the cows that leave our farm leave for dairy purposes. We also sell 30 to 40 breeding bulls a year to 5 states, and the 4 bulls that that Triple-Hil all traced back to Ginger as well. So this is a picture of our family. We have 3 boys and 3 girls. Just got a baker's dozen on grandchildren. Just got our 13th grandchild. And you can move on. So our oldest daughter is passionate about genetics. She's involved in the farm part-time, and then my oldest son is also involved in the farm part-time. He's a mechanic and all around. But he also has a herd of beef cows and farms a lot of land. So we're down by Oakwood. And a couple of our kids got to show bug. And so 2010, we started showing. And that's fun. We've enjoyed that, done fairly well on a local level. But to win at the shows takes extreme cows. And we're not about breeding extreme cows. Extremes can be fun. We had a heifer, a huggable heifer that was All-American 2 years. That was fun, and it brought some profit. But to me, it's about balance, and to be a balanced cow is not an extreme cow. So I mentioned Ginger, that I picked Ginger. All these animals go back to Ginger. So we brought Ginger, we moved here, and the herd wasn't on test, and we put them on test, and they had a herd average of 17,000 that first year. And Ginger moved 1,000 miles as a 3-year-old, and she made 37,000 pounds of milk in the exact same environment as the rest of them. Ginger brought a lot of strength, and it was a true dairy strength, and we just really found that transmitted through her offspring. She had 5 or 6 excellent daughters. That Ginger ended up with 316,000 pounds lifetime. I think that's 5 or 6 semen. She lived to be 16 years old. She had a Regency daughter that made 264,000, lived to be 13. She had another daughter that was 13. The top cow up there where it says thankful, that was a Ginger heart cow. She was one of the last heifers that Ginger had. She lived to be 13 years old and had over 200,000. And that's the cow we flushed Ginger heart. We would flush her once every year. So she didn't have as much lifetime production because when we flush her, she'd go off on milk. But you could use any bull you wanted to on her, and it just worked. Sure. So Holbrook was the first bull. I'm a Gold Chip fan. Gold Chip did really well for me. If you use him correctly, he just did really well for us. And like I said, Ginger had that incredible strength. Ginger heart transmitted that strength. This is a hydro bull. His dam lived to be 14, I believe. And then the Great Guy, was a little different branch, but that was a good branch as well. And then Hawkeye is the current bull that we have there. And he's out of one of my favorite, Spearmint is one of my favorite all-time bulls. What do we have here?
The red one is in Atlanta.
These don't all go to Ginger heart. The little Atlanta on the end doesn't go to Ginger heart, but the rest of them do. Stand up so you can see it over there. Okay, go ahead. So this is a luxury daughter. She's good plus 83. She's got all the right parts. I think she'll probably be shown this summer.
Yeah, Luxury, he's been a very people calving the luxuries in and want more semen. Unfortunately, we lost the bull, and so there's no more semen. Of course, it happens to the good ones, but he was a Diamondback son.
So she would have potential to be a 7th generation excellent out of ginger. The interesting thing with the ginger heart cow, got several branches, several daughters of her who have given us 6 generations of excellence now. This is a Rex 2-year-old, very good 85. Of course, I used to Fallon Bull because I was always a Ninja fan, and I thought Gold Chip was a magical mix there. And I love my Fallons. Yes, they start out slow. They're not going to be your wettest 2-year-olds, but you know that when you make the mating. And so this is another Fallon that we really like. I think she's very good as well. That Hydro really does well. This is the type of cow I just love to breed from. And her rear udder, when she's full of milk, if she got any wider, she'd be a little hard to get through the barn with. Malky, of course, has been one of my favorite bulls. This is 88. We have 2 of them that are 6 years old now. Other is 92. But he's just a consistent, I love consistency, and when I see a bull with he's consistent, and Malky's been really consistent. I'm actually still breeding, still using Malky. That cow, the last cow that was pictured, gave us our highest milk production per day so far. I think it was 158, maybe it was 160, I don't remember. But she just calved again, and when we tried, we were supposed to, she's on the dry up list, and she's still giving 103 pounds of milk. It's like, wow, what are we going to do here? But she got it fine. So, I'm not, like I said, we don't push for the high milk production. If it happens, that's great. And we raise our heifers on pasture. We attempt to breed cows that will do well on forage. And anyway, they put together some things here. We sold to 3. Well, the first sale got canceled. We had heifers in that too. We sell 20 to 30 dairy cows every year. And all the cows never sold through the Triple-Hil sales 100% have been good plus or better.
This was one that sold through the sale.
Yep, she went through the sale.
She's in Pennsylvania. She's still in that herd.
I think this is in Wisconsin, right?
No, this one's also in Pennsylvania.
Oh, she is?
Yeah. Tremendous cow. This picture doesn't do her justice. She would have sold as a heifer? Or
Yes.
she would have
So yeah, that's just what we do. And like I said, I'm not opposed to cows milking a lot. We had a guy from Iowa who would come up every year and buy a trailer load of cows in the spring and a trailer load of cows in the fall. And he took a 3-year-old Alexander, and she made a record in Iowa. And he's like, man, why don't you push your cows more? Well, I'm selling cows. You're buying cows. So that's that way. But you just can't say enough about maternal lines. So maternal line, if you find a maternal line there, I might just turn my mic on in my pocket, I'm not sure. Yep. I get to fidget again. If you get a maternal line that works right, don't be afraid to invest in that maternal line and build on it. We all are real quick to give credit to the sires when we really like a 2-year-old. First with the sire if we don't like a 2-year-old. But we all know human genetics. I guess I kind of feel like the female brings a lot of times more than 50% of the worthwhile qualities. And, you know, it's the same, it's just, the cows that we're using, so we want to curse at the bull, but look at the mating that you made, look at the cow. Yeah. And we do use Triple-Hil. That's been an invaluable tool for us. Soon after I started, I decided I was cutting costs, and this is years ago. I quit anything extra we were doing, but I really saw the consistency of my herd diminish. Consistency is one thing that Triple-Hil really has helped us with. So.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for the introductions to your operations there. I have a list of questions here we can go across, but I would like to start just maybe, is there any questions out there that are already on your minds you want to ask before we get into some more of the, what I have? Yes, sir.
What is the pedigree behind a ginger heart?
So Ginger Heart was a demon. So when I was a year after high school, I bought a Vandertie Star. It's a 79-point dry cow, and I paid $2,900 for it. My dad thought I was just crazy, and he called her Vandertie steer. But anyway, she was on the round side, but she ended up 91 points, and I bred her to enhance her. And she was an 85.2-year-old, and then her feet and legs went south. But she had the lead, that was leading Ginger.
Any other questions?
The enhancer was Ginger's dam.
The enhancer was Ginger's dam,
Okay.
correct.
And then what was Ginger?
Ginger's leading.
Okay.
The original Ginger was the Glen Valley Star,
Okay.
and this Ginger was
Okay.
Rock Commission leading.
Okay. And all the H's in your herd go back to Ginger.
All the H's, yeah, we ran out of
names,
names.
yeah.
And so with Ginger, she had a perfect heart on her, and so
Yeah.
we named her Ginger Heart, and then all her offspring, well, some of them are G's, some of them are H's.
And have you moved on to any other letters, or are they still all G's and H's?
All G's and H's.
Okay.
And Store Managers are one of my favorite bulls as well.
Well, that leads me to a question maybe for all of you to answer. Like, what bulls have you seen in your herd that's made a really big impact? Is there anything that stands out to you? Any bulls over the years that really took your herd in a turn for the better, or maybe for the worse, a bull that just did not work for you?
Well, way back when I started breeding cows in high school, I took a course through ABS. My dad bought a whole bunch of Valiant semen, and you know, as farmers, we like to complain about prices being so high. Semen is actually something that is not near as high as it was then. My dad paid $200 a unit for a lot of Valiant semen. A lot of the cheaper bulls were. I remember we were using Strawberry Hollow Demand. We paid $60 for them. Anyway, I'll never forget. We had 11 fair 2-year-old Valiants. So that was one that did not work for my dad. One that's really has worked for me is the Malky bull. Currently, I'm still, like I said, I got 2-year-old Malky's milking, 3-year-old.
I guess I'm a little young here to really be digging back in the memory bank. I'd say, something within the last few years that just seems to stamp them up for us is Doc. I know some people haven't had good luck with them. All of ours have been fairly fantastic. Kind of going back to, when my old man had bred, I think, he used shottle pretty heavy, and there were a lot of good shottles in there. So I'd say, a majority of what we have today goes back to shottle in some way, shape, or form.
And I would say the same. Shottle really helped us with strength, and then you could use so many, like the gold chip bull, use so many bulls on that.
Like for you specifically, when you went back and used those older bulls, which of those older bulls did you find worked well in your herd versus ones that might not have?
Today, some of my favorite older bulls would be Elevation and Black Star. I really like those daughters from those bulls, especially now that I know that they carry the A2 gene. So I'll be probably using a little bit more of them if I can still locate the semen still. Marks are also a good bull that I had really good success with in my herd. The one bull that I was disappointed in was Arlinda Chief, the Pawnee Farm Arlinda Chief. They were the milkiest cows ever on our farm. They milked their hearts out, but their udders just couldn't last. So their udders blew out shortly after their second lactation. But if you breed them on the right cow, it's a good combination. Column Star Outside was a really good bull for us. So those are some of the ones that stood out for us. But I can go on and on, but we don't have all day.
Right. Any other questions in the crowd? Yes, sir.
So with that, how long did it take your herd to get bloodlines right out of the herd, and how long is it going to take you to get the blood back in? You had gone off the reservation, gone genomics, and bred everything right out of the herd. How long did it take that, and how long is it going to take to get it back?
It took a good 10 years to get it all back, strength and longevity. Good question. Now, when you get the longevity, you're going to see an impact on your service per conception rate. It will go up because older cows tend to be harder to breed. You just got to be aware of that it may take 2 or 3 more services to get them bred. But it's worth it in the long run when you enjoy working with old cows.
Sir,
You have said you like mountain, but I noticed the last time I went back on someone on green there, is he gone?
Yes, unfortunately, Malky is no longer available. So he's what we import from the Netherlands, and a number of years ago, we weren't able to import more because he had tested positive for a disease that's carried by flies or mosquitoes or something over there, and so we were out for a while, and then he tested negative again, so then we were able to import it again. Now the bull's dead and gone, so I'm sure there's still a little bit floating around here in the U.S., but as far as Malky himself, no, unless you find it in someone's tank. Having said that, Lowell will be telling us about a Malky son we have coming, so that we can continue that on with the Malky son, but no.
I'm amazed at how many of the Amish guys that I sell bulls to want Malky sons.
Yeah. Yeah, he had quite a worldwide impact. Something that Blake said triggered this question in my mind, and that was just a little more on the management end of things, but you mentioned cows taking more breedings as they get older. With each of your dairies, what do you do? Do you do any time day eyes at all, natural heats? How are you heat detecting? What do you guys do?
We are all natural heat detection. Our cows get to go outside on dry lot as much as possible when the weather permits for it. We do trim our cows' hooves every 4 months so they have good feet and legs so they can actually show really good heats.
We do summertime and some natural heats. We graze in the summertime, so it's much easier than wintertime. Wintertime, we put sand in. But yeah, it is definitely trickier catching with cows.
Yeah.
I run 100% double offsing on my milking cows. I pretty much breed them. First lactation cows get bred at 90 days fresh, and anything second lactation plus gets bred at 100 days.
Have you played around any with like your volunteer waiting period and you kind of found that 90 days is optimal for you? Or?
Yeah, so when I first started double oxing, I was fresh out of college, and they said 80 days, that's the magic number. Well, 80 days on cows that are milking 140, 150, 160 pounds a day, and it's pretty tough, and it's tough to make a 3 to 5 day record like that. So I just, after, even just a few months, I switched to 100 days. You get some guys that say, if a cow peaks at 140 or 140 pounds of milk, you shouldn't breed her till 140 days fresh. I value that calving interval. Seeing that we have such a market for selling replacements and selling breeder bulls, that I find the value in getting that calf every 12, 13 months.
Yeah, I have a herd in our area that I work with, the larger herd, and he does sync. And he's breeding his first service on everything pretty much 70, 80 days, and I'm telling him, I think you would have better conception rates if you could push it back a little bit, because you're hitting that cow right when she's really pushing the milk.
Yeah, when I was at 80 days, I was at 1.5, 1.6 services per conception. Now I'm at 1.2, 1.3.
Very good. Wow. When you were talking, you mentioned selling bull calves. I wanted to touch on that. Obviously, right now we know how bad the milk checks are. So what do you guys got going that you sell other than milk? Bull calves, replacement heifers, what do you got going for that?
Yeah, so on the cattle side of things, we're selling breeder bulls to other farmers at 13 to 14 months old when they're big enough to breed heifers, essentially. And then, so we're selling about 20, 25 breeder bulls a year, 20, 25 replacements a year. Right now, the market's good, so that adds a lot of value. If you figure it on a per hundredweight, if you add that value in, the price ain't so bad right now. But then, also, we run 400 acres, so about half of that goes towards feed for the cows, and the other half, we do sell some grain.
So we also sell breeder bulls, like I said, and we don't sell any heifers except for the Triple-Hil consignment sale, but we kit everything in, and we sell them as, usually the buyers want first calf or second calf cows, and older cows are my bread and butter, so that's what how we do it.
How many heads you sell in a year?
Cows?
Yeah.
Between 20 and 30.
Okay.
And we don't use sex semen. I have now a couple of bulls that I couldn't really get in sexed. We have a really strong bull market. I can't even keep them there anymore. They're taking them as calves. And but then we also early 2000s we started out with 200 acres there when we moved to 95, and we had an Amish settlement there by us, and they all moved out. So we had an opportunity to buy more land, and we almost expanded. We considered expansion. We considered going organic. Some days I think that should have been the route we took, but we opted to diversify a bit, and so we sell crops as well. We have 450 acres now. We specialize in horse hay. I sell 300 to 500 big squares of horse hay a year. For whatever they want for, but a lot of food stores. And then some grain as well.
So our family's in a different situation since we take our product from straight to the cow to the consumer. But we do also diversify with beef lines. We cross our Holstein cows, the bottom 5% to Wagyu beef, which is also known as Kobe beef. So we sell a good high-end quality beef to our consumers as well. So it's kind of nice knowing that we don't have to mess with the milk prices on a daily basis, since we have complete control over our products and our prices. So it's easy to talk about, but it's a lot of hard work, and it's been good so far. So hopefully it can continue to be good for the next generation.
Very good. Any questions from the crowd at this time?
Wait, are you selling your beef on the hoof, or are you processing it there on the farm?
We are processing it to a meat USDA certified meat locker so we can sell across state lines. If I have excess beef, then we can sell it on the hoof, but not very often.
All right, so kind of pivoting back to thinking about bulls again. We talked a little bit about old influential bulls that you used. What about nowadays? How are each of you selecting bulls? When you need to fill your semen tank, what do you do?
What do you want us to say? Triple-Hil bulls.
No, I want to. We picked 3 people with 3 different operations and 3 different usages of our bulls. So tell us what you're doing.
I've been using quite a few AAA bulls right now because they have a nice variety for me that has A2 bulls along with the 100% registry. I know I talked to the guys at Triple-Hil about that, but that's what I'm looking for. And they seem to have the bulls there that I need. And I am kind of going towards the AAA thing a little bit because some of these linear scores you see on, in the magazines, I don't know if I really trust those anymore because you can make those numbers look really good, whereas the AAA number I think is more reliable. And then I also get a lot of my older genetics from Richard Mellinger in Pennsylvania, so shout out to him. And between him and Triple-Hil, they're supplying all my semen.
So I still like to look at cow families. I have no interest in using a bull that's out of a 6-month-old heifer and maybe 3 generations of animals that have never had another between their legs. It's not something that interests me. So I look at cow families. I also rely heavily on AAA.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on this in my presentation there. I kind of sweat when I start picking bulls. Every proof round, I go, it's time to get to work again because to find the enough bulls that I like is really tough. So I kind of use a sprinkle of everything. If I find one at Triple-Hil, C-Mex, Select, London, Noble, I'm looking at it all. I'm looking at the catalogs. I'm looking at Holstein Red Book. I'm on the line. You put a lot of time into it, and the things that I'm looking for, as the cow families, like Ralph had talked about, it's super important. But then also, some of those production numbers. And then, I really do, like looking at the linears on the bulls. I know there's been some talk, how reliable those are, but I think there's still a lot of value to them.
Is there any specific linear that you particularly watch out for, or just all of them?
Well, I think, a lot of what these people talk about is strength. And, that's no different on our farm. I think when you think of DoorCo farms, I think you should pick strength. And you can see that on the pictures of the cows that I showed you before. So, I'm looking at, all the, other traits. But, also I really love a bull that's, 2 points on strength, but also, very similar in stature. Those bulls that are, super tall and narrow chested that won't do.
I guess for me, club leg is really important. I feel my maternal line really transmits the strength well and others as well.
I guess I had a question. Do you feel you get enough milk out of Triple-Hil sires, or do you have to do a little more patience?
Is that a question for a specific one or all of them?
That's to be determined for me. I don't think I'm milking any Triple-Hil bulls at the moment. Got some screening up, but we will see.
Well, hopefully it's cows and not bulls, but.
So I'm glad you asked that question. I a good friend of mine back east, my best friend growing up, works for Select Sires now. And he just, every time we were together, he'd say, Ralph, they're not going to milk. They just can't milk. And I'd say, why not? Look at the dam. Look at the lifetime production on those cows. I just couldn't wait to call him. The first time he asked me, after he asked me that, the next time we tested, 3 of our 4 top cows were out of Triple-Hil. 3 of our top cows were out of Triple-Hil bulls. The other one was Dorgan, I believe. So yes, they may not start out as hot as 2-year-olds, like I mentioned the fellows, but I knew they were going to, but they're going to milk. And yeah, it has not been an issue for us.
I've had mixed results so far. So I used Challenger, and I've had no problems getting a lot of milk out of Challengers. I also used PEP, and that one takes a little bit of patience.
Yeah, that's across the board.
Yeah. Currently I'm using Bravo, but the oldest ones are 3-4 months old. So to be determined, but like any bull, it's a lot of it's how you use them, what you use them on.
Very good. Good question. Any other questions?
I should say, I think it was 9 months out of the year last year that the Triple-Hil cow topped our DHA.
The other thing that I find interesting from my perspective is that, so when we started out, if someone said Triple-Hil bulls, we had a small enough number that could kind of get how it was grouped together, but at this point when we have a catalog with maybe 60-some Holsteins available, after a while it's like, so do you just say Triple-Hil bulls, or do you talk about specific ones? Because yes, we're going to have some that are more milk oriented. There's going to be some that, like Pep, for example, we're never going to sell him as a milk bull. We know he does. He does really well at confirmation. You do want to use him on a milky cow. So instead of just lumping them all together, maybe specific bulls, you could say, how is this bull milk for you? That kind of thing. Because at this point we have so many bulls, it's a little hard to just lump them all in one kettle.
I will say the one Pep that we did have, she ended up being classified 91. I think she peaked at almost 130 pounds. So, for you that might be a lot of milk. For me, not quite there.
That's why I like the diversity we have up here. We've got people of everything. All right, what time we got here? Probably wrapping it up a little bit. Let's see. But we pretty much talked about mating. 2 of you using AAA. You're almost converted.
One quick thing that I noticed over the years when I'm using these old genetics, and you look at the linears, it's all negatives. Because of all the rollbacks over the years, you can't really mate a cow based off a linear from an older genetic. So I had to basically learn the hard way, either by reading articles or talking to people that bred bulls from older genetics, 60, 70, and 80 or whatnot, or learn the hard way, like seeing a daughter from that time and learning from that, so it's been fun.
That's a very good point. I think you really need to be careful when you're comparing apples with apples when you're looking at proofs and linears. If you look at Sheepster, modern, I think he's proven now bull, compare him with elevation, like there's just literally nothing you can compare on the proof having an idea what you're looking at, because they're from 2 different eras. And so you need to be careful when you're comparing bulls, even ones that aren't so extreme on the time scale, that you're actually comparing apples with apples. There was a question back here.
Yeah, on haylage versus silage on forages, like on a ration, like 50-50 haylage silage or more silage versus haylage. Just kind of curious what you're doing.
We do coincided and haylage both. A lot of it depends on the quality of the hay, and if we have enough haylage or coincided, then we can kind of mix a good TMR for them. But It's usually 60-40 corn silage to haylage for us.
And I like being about 60-40 haylage if I can get my haylage the way I want it, but right now we're about 50-50. I'm a grass fan, and we also do alternative forages, sorghums, triticale, rye. Some of those things are so highly digestible compared to alfalfa. But that's, yeah, we're about 50-50 right now.
So we used to be about 60-40 haylage to corn silage. The last few years, one of the changes I made was I made a bag pad so we could put bags of corn silage up. And now we're 60-40, maybe even 70-30 corn silage to haylage. And I found in the summertime with the heat, cows really do a lot better on more corn silage and haylage. We did try VMR corn silage one year just to see if it would make a difference. And it didn't do a single thing for me. So we just went back to just a conventional corn silage. But I'll also chop that corn silage at almost as high as chop 11, 18, 20 inches high. And I'm not afraid to leave some out there and really get that higher starch and digestibility on that corn silage.
Very good question. Did you have something you were saying? Management questions are great. If you have any questions like that.
How many pounds of total grain in your diet?
Corn, did you say?
Total grain, protein and corn.
So I'm about 10 pounds of corn. That's all I feed. And I raise beans that we roast on the farm. Right now we're 4 pounds at, and then 3 pounds. So it'd be 17 pounds.
Yeah, we're about 10 pounds of corn, and then we also feed canola meal and then dry distillers grain. So you're looking at 17 to 20 pounds.
I guess I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. Like in our protein mix, we have like Exceller meal. And then we also feed high moisture corn as well. So that probably comes out to probably closer to that 15 to 20 pounds per cow per day.
I have a final question for them. I'll make sure we get your questions all answered before we move on. And they'll be around for I don't know how long after the meeting, but please feel free to go up to them and ask them other things they know that you didn't have the courage to ask them. I had a lot of questions, but I'm just going to do one more to get wrapped up here so we don't have a late lunch. So if a young farmer comes up to you after the meeting and asks you for any advice you could give him to try to improve the success of his dairy farm he's starting out with, specifically thinking of today's dairy economy, anything you would say to that?
Yeah, actually, I was just asked a very similar question a couple weeks ago on a Farm Bureau podcast, and I think my answer, is pretty much the same one I'll tell you guys, for a young farmer getting started, and that is to stay connected, and that means stay connected, 1, to yourself, your goals, 2, to your family, and 3, to your community. You stay connected to all that, and you keep, your eye on whatever your goals are, whatever they may be, and there's no doubt you'll have success in some way, shape, or form.
Well said. I would also say to a young guy, focus on cow comfort. It's not as big an issue now as it was 20 years ago, but focus on cow comfort. And then find a maternal line that transmits and focus on that. I would also say if you think you need new equipment and shiny equipment, maybe choose another career.
They both had good responses. my advice would be, don't be afraid to work hard. Set goals, and don't be afraid to think outside the box. Everybody fails at some point in their life, but you learn from the failures, and then it's going to make you a better person.
Thank you guys. These guys all drove a long ways here. Let's give them a round of applause.